Welcome to the inaugural meeting of the Catskills Addiction Coalition. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate sort of the faces I wasn't expecting to see here. That is a super duper treat. This is Diana Mason.
Hi, I'm the facilitator of the Catskills Addiction Coalition, and some of you knew us as the Eastern Delaware County Coalition on Substance Abuse Prevention and Treatment. We changed our name for a really good reason, to both shorten it, but also because there was interest from communities. We were focused on Andes, Middletown, and Roxbury, and there was interest from other communities in joining the coalition. So we thought, okay, let's keep it for the Catskills region. And so some of you are doing the Action Summit in January, and we've got a steering committee that's been following up on that work, and we're planning another summit January 24th, which we'll talk more about in a minute, to talk about progress, and then some other work that's going on now, and looking at what plans do we want to develop to fill in gaps in prevention, treatment, and recovery services. So we also got a grant from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation to collaborate with Delhi on becoming recovery-friendly communities, and working with Mary, and we've done some work on that. We have more to do, but it's very aligned with what's going on today. But then the hospital had applied for a federal grant, for a planning grant to look at do an assessment of what do we have in place for prevention, treatment, and recovery, and what are the gaps, and then to identify what's a plan for filling those gaps. And so the coalition was part of that initial work, both in the planning of the grant and once the grant got approved. And our brilliance was in having Julia Reichel to be the project director.
Well, thanks. And we'll see how brilliant that is.
She approached the coalition. So that grant requires that there be a coalition or a consortium. And she said, wait a minute, you already have the beginnings of one. Why don't we just build on this? And so the steering committee, and we've got Arnie and Rena, who are here from our steering committee, didn't take this long to say yes. It just makes all the sense in the world to be as efficient and collaborative and synergistic as we can. So we are very excited about this collaboration, and we would refer to this meeting, another member of the steering committee.
Actually, you can totally have my seat, Linda, because I can stand.
As a
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
As a resetting of the coalition today, and that this is the first meeting of the coalition itself. We've been doing work as a steering committee. So what we wanted to do today was to talk about the opportunity that we have under this planning grant, and then to talk about the January summit, and then to talk about some committees that Julia set up and committee reports. If you haven't signed the list, please do so. And I thought before I hand this over to Julia, we could very quickly go around and say who's in the room, and then we'll get to who is on by Zoom.
Yep, great.
So, Diana Mason, Catskills Addiction Coalition.
Rena Reba, I'm with NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness in Delaware and Otsego County. I'm also on the County Community Service Board, and Health Subcommittee, and Suicide Prevention.
You probably need to speak up for people on the video, so do speak loudly.
And we are recording this so we can share it later.
Kimberly Lacey, I am Julia's assistant.
Kelly Murphy, I work for Public Health. Amy Smith, I'm the Margaretville Hospital Education Coordinator.
I'm David McNamara. I'm the Executive Director of Samadhi Recovery Community Outreach Center.
I should just pause and say Delaware County Mental Health. Samadhi is a Kingston-based community center. We're spanning several counties here, so I just want people to know where everyone is.
I'm Tom O'Brien. I'm Superintendent of Roxbury. I'm also a local EMT, and I'm a member of the Governor's Heroin and Opioid Task.
Mary Rosenthal, Director of Alcohol and Drug Abuse Council.
Barney Schwartz, part of CAC, and hospital board, Margaretville Hospital board.
I'm Jonathan Gross from Wyndham, part of the Mountaintop Advocacy Coalition that you would is similar to this, but a couple clicks back, I'll be here if you want to learn. I can explain what we're doing later.
About that.
Hi, I'm Glenn. I'm a community member. We and I have known each other for a long time. My previous background, I worked for most of my working life in prevention with aggravating teenagers, and ran some interesting programs that I think that information might be helpful to this group because it was successful. What it was trying to do.
Okay, we don't want to go. Okay. I'm Linda Webb. That's my professional name. Clinical social worker. I've worked in private practice and at the VA in my field with addictions and post-traumatic stress disorder.
I'm Randy Ward.
Judy Williams, infection control and integrated healthcare council. Judy Green, utilization review here at the hospital and also a member of Delaware County Rural Health Alliance.
Earl Dalton, case manager, Margaretville Hospital.
Chad Story, I'm a first sergeant with the Ulster County Sheriff's Office. I'm overseeing our Oracle program, which is opioid response for county law enforcement. And I'm also the police chief for the township.
Becky Manning from Catskills Addiction
Point in Delhi.
Scott Tyree, and I am here representing the Top Advocacy Coalition. I also work for a long-term care facility and also work
It's right over there.
Okay.
And on the video?
Yes.
Zoom?
All right, first we have Mika. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Mika Gonzalez. I'm the Community Development Specialist for the Central Region Prevention Resource Center. We're based out of Onondaga County, Syracuse, and we cover 13 counties.
Awesome. They provide support for groups like this specifically, which we're really excited to have them on this call. Emily, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Emily Taggart. I'm a social worker at O'Connor Hospital.
Yay. And you work with recovery coaches already, right?
Yes.
Jessica?
Hi, I'm Jessica Vecchione, and I'm on my exercise bike. That's why I look so weird. Sorry. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm working on several projects about recovery, and also am the admin for social media for Delaware County Department of Mental Health and Friends of Recovery.
Thanks, Jess. Susie?
I'm Susie Lynn. I'm the grants manager for Health Alliance. And the reason you're all in that room.
She wrote the grant, she got the money. We are going to be working with her closely going forward. Whoever's on this iPhone, tell us who you are.
Joe Damone.
Oh, Joe Damone. Tell us what you do, Joe.
I'm running the poster program.
You're a little broken up. But
the January meetings.
Yeah, he's doing a youth engagement project with posters for youth outreach in the schools in collaboration with Fort Dew and with some other folks. Looks like Scott Burrows is on the call. Scott?
Good morning, it's Scott Burrows from Delaware County Treatment Court.
Awesome. Yay. Does everyone know what Delaware County Treatment Court is? Can you explain in 2 sentences what you do?
Not in 2, but I'll do the best I can. We give an opportunity for people who are in the criminal justice system and who have substance abuse issues an opportunity to have a different path other than incarceration.
That was 1. Good job. And it looks like Karen, you're the last person we've got. Can you say your name again, Karen? Oh, you're broken up, my dear. So I'm going to introduce you for us. Karen Driscoll is a nurse, registered nurse. Actually, why don't you say what she is?
She was an intern. She was a graduate student at SUNY Dale High School of Nursing and worked with did some clinical hours with the coalition and really did amazing work in media.
Yes,
that's great.
And as a resource
over in Ellenville.
Yes, that's right. Cool.
And we have some other people.
Oh, yes.
I'm Eric Rosenberg, a physician. We're Ulster County based, but my wife and I are both board certified addictionologists. We come out from Margaretville. The last couple of years, it's been a couple of days of medication assisted treatment and counseling. I also work as a medical examiner in Ulster County, so I've been involved in this.
I think that's everybody.
Didn't hear that at all. Didn't hear that at all. Who is that?
That's Kurt Grovenberg. Yes, sorry, you're gonna have to speak a little louder. One more time, Kurt.
I'm a physician that works in addiction medicine for several years. My wife and I are both board certified in addiction medicine, and we come out to Delaware County 2 days a week. We're primary.
Are you from Lake Katrine?
No, Kerhonkson.
Kerhonkson, right? Yes. Yeah, I know you. Hello.
Good. All right. We'll do a little more of this later.
Okay.
I am going to be true to my word on this. So that's it for introductions. There's lots of food outside, and I'm not going to let you have it until we talk about, until after item 3. Shouldn't be too long. And then we'll take a break. So yeah, Diana, let's just talk a little bit about why we're here with this grant and what the CAC wants to do.
Julia's going to run this.
Okay.
But it really is a resetting for the coalition. So we've been doing work as a steering committee with Linda, Rena, Arnie, and some other folks on the steering committee. But the only time that we've met with everybody has been at our summit in January, and our plans for the meeting again in January. But now with this opportunity, we'll have periodic meetings. Nobody wants too many meetings. I understand that. So we're going to be very parsimonious in that, but try to do work in between through a committee structure. But the grant really gives us an opportunity to bump up the work that we're doing and extend the reach of what we're doing. And we don't want to duplicate, so that's why we want as many people in this space to talk with each other about what's going on, because one of the things that we've discovered is that people don't know what each other is doing. So this is a real opportunity, I think, to find synergies and build upon work that's already being done. Julia, why don't you say what the aims of the grant are?
Okay, and I also want to say just the aim of the Catskills Addiction Coalition is to be a really robust cross-boundary consortium. Sorry, that started making around, but yeah, I'm going to totally room over you here. We're supposed to build as robust a consortium, a community group as possible. And there are several ways to do that. One of them is that we're all going to make decisions together. Anybody in this room has the ability to say, whoa, I don't like that. Can we talk more about this thing we're discussing? This is unusual, right? You don't get a lot of groups sort of running this way, but the Catskills Addiction Coalition for 1.5 years now has already been running that way. The reason why this is important for me for administering this HRSA grant is HRSA, this federal agency that gave us money for this planning grant, requires a consensus-driven consortium in a community to give more money to down the line. So this is the thing that I'm supposed to be building this year. You are the thing I'm supposed to be delivering. And we will rise or fall depending on how well we work together. I know super well that it's really hard to work together, especially when we have all these things that divide us. County lines, different agencies, different resources, different visions, but that's my goal. So my entire idea today is just to sit around face to face and work towards trusting each other so that we can work together effectively. Everything else, all these actual projects are details. We can do them in small groups, we can do them remotely, and I will facilitate that to the best of my ability. But today is about trust and getting to know each other so that we can work together. And that's why I'm so glad that you took the time to come here. It's awesome.
And Julia, so the grant officially ends and your report has to be in when?
My report has to be in at the end of May, but the real thing that's happening here is we are looking to apply for a HRSA implementation grant in April. The grant RFP will be released in January. By being a recipient of this planning grant, we are already a little bit ahead of the game for getting this implementation grant, but there are no guarantees. Other communities across the country, one in Kentucky got a grant similar to this. There's a lot of opioid money sloshing around, and this is one of the many ways it's going to trickle down into our communities. And HRSA has just decided that the way to administer it properly is to have this planning stage so that we know what we want with it, and have several turnkey projects in April that we can say, we're gonna do this if you give us this money. So our goal here is to decide as a group what projects in our community make the most sense. And by our community, I don't think I explained this, it's Delaware, Ulster, a little bit of Sullivan, and a little bit of Green. That's why we're calling it the Catskills Addiction Coalition. The reason we got this planning money was because we're rural, and rural areas have their own unique needs and stressors. So we're focusing on this rural region and what we can do that's innovative, that's different, that's collaborative together to combat opioids specifically, but also just addiction more generally, and even more generally just wellness.
And if I could add to that point, we call ourselves the Catskills Addiction Coalition because Mary told us the opioids are not on the rise here. It's meth on the rise, it's alcohol on the rise, and I have a particular concern about the increase in vaping that's going on and the effect on health with that, particularly among young people. So our name is deliberately addictions. However, this federal grant is focused on opioids. And my understanding is that that's what we have to address for the grant.
We do, but HRSA is open to anything that is opioid, but also other things. So we don't have to pretend that that this is the one thing. We can say there's comorbidities, there's all of these mental health and different kinds of addictions all are stuck together. And in fact, I think that will strengthen our grant application.
Oh, great.
Yes.
And then the other was, and the implementation grant will be potentially how much over what period of time?
A lot. Over 3 years, it could be $1 million or more. Could be, no promises. The HRSA has been very like, we are not promising anything. So one of the things I do want to say is that even if we don't get this HRSA grant, this is going to be a commitment for me and for the CAC going forward. So there's other grants we can apply for, there's other work we can do. We want to be a permanent fixture no matter what. So that's what I have to say about that. I should introduce Ken Akladis. He is the Director of Behavioral Health at Westchester Medical Center Network.
Yes.
Yes, and he's one of the voices who will talk a little bit about medication-assisted treatment and how we can bring that to the whole system. Well, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
I'm happy to do it. I just want to on the agenda.
It will be
One
later.
of my favorite topics.
Yes, good.
I do have to leave for 11 o'clock.
We'll be on it before 11. We'll be on it at 10:50.
Okay.
Sweet. Okay. So here's the heart of it. And we're switching to 3, and I'm going to let you eat. I'd love to just go around the room quickly and talk about why you're here, what you think is why you're here, and what value. Help me out with this, Diana. What is your core value for how we can work together? What do you need to have trust in this group so that we can do some experimental stuff together? I'd like to start with Kurt.
I've been working in the field of addiction for over 15 years. My wife and I have made a very strong commitment to this work. We do work with medication-assisted treatment. We're board certified in addiction medicine. And in our experience, we see the positive outcome of this, especially applied in an appropriate setting. So we're all in, we've been all in. We actually have been traveling to Delaware County because patients from Delaware County were driving to us in Ulster County, and it just made more sense for us to come out here to meet them. I think a lot of the history of Delaware County is the OxyContin factory, because we hear it firsthand from the patients and just the devastating history that had in Delaware County. So that's what we do.
What do you need? Oh, did someone say something? No.
I got knocked off. It's Joe Damone again. I'm back.
Okay. 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 In a word, what do you need from a group like this to help you?
I think just everybody getting to know everybody is the most important thing. There's a lot of times people are just unaware, and kind of with that comes stigma. Just not knowing. So, yeah, getting to know each other.
Rena, what do you need?
Ma, you want me to heat that up for you?
Collaboration. I work in healthcare and disability advocacy, and one of the best things I learned from that last position in disability advocacy was networking across the state with other similar organizations, doing a lot of advocacy from Albany,
appealing to government officials. So just work together.
Yeah.
Get focused on what we can do to get results.
So collaboration. Kim, you're on the hook.
Ah, I was a medical secretary of the UHS for 11 years and seen a lot come through there. Being on the phone all the time and having patients there because prescriptions aren't at the pharmacy. Going through, they had to come in and sign for their narcotics to go and where they're all done over the internet. I needed a change and I saw this and I was like, talked to my husband and I said, I think I'm really interested in that. I live in Corbett and small little hamlet in the town of Colchester, and there is a lot of drugs. And my next door neighbor is hooked. My other next door neighbor was hooked. So I just feel like it's something that help to the whole community.
Callie, what do you need? And what does the drug use task force in Delaware County need?
So I'm Kelly Murphy, so I'm the chair of our substance use task force for Delaware County. We created it 2018, 2019 last year. Wow, that seems like a long time ago. And we did it because state DOH awarded us funding for that year. We've actually been refunded for an additional 3 years. And over that time, I think what I need and what our coalition needs is some communication. I think that is perfect. I think we share a lot of the same goals, and kind of our mission statement is very similar, and that I know things and I can share things. You guys all know things and you can share things, and that if the concern is duplication of effort, that this would be an extremely helpful thing to communicate so that it's kind of, you're focused on the Catskills, I have to focus on the entire county, and they overlap. So yeah, you're focused on one area, but why not bring it out to the whole area? Which we are, and that's talking about towns that aren't really in your focus, really, but they're in ours, and I think that it would be really helpful. A lot of people's goals and high points, and kind of talking and collaborating and blending and whatever else we need to do. So I'm available if anybody wants to talk ever. Or
yeah, I've already put you on one of my committees, which is just your committee. I'm making, instead of making new committees, I'm just going to other people's meetings and trying to work with what they've got.
Yep.
Amy,
well, I've been on the Delaware County Task Force since it started.
Very helpful.
So I'm here to where I can as nursing department here, in general. Pretty good at creating education things. So,
one of our Margaretville Hospital experiment with stuff. Yeah, it's great. David.
I'm David McNamara. I'm a substance abuse recovery coach and trainer of recovery coaches. I'm here because I think collaboration is so important in what we do. I think that, there's some resistance. I mean, I'm relatively new to this field. I was a filmmaker for 50 years. My son's best friend had a heroin overdose. And at that point, I decided to switch careers. What I found in the peer movement, we just lost. I think we had like 5 overdoses in Ulster County in the last week. Fatal overdoses.
From
Opioids.
heroin or
Fentanyl, probably.
We're seeing in our drug task force.
Yeah. So the thing that we found is that the peer movement, I think, is so important, because getting people, when people leave inpatient treatment, we're a recovery community outreach center, so we're kind of like a base for peers. We're open 6 days a week from 11 a.m. till 9 p.m. They have programming all day long, so it's like a place you can just go. You can participate in programming, or you can just hang out and talk to a peer. If that's
and where is it again?
We're in Kingston. Or in Kingston. We are looking to, we're actually in the process of also opening an outpatient center, and we would like to have a retreat center in more of a rural setting, so maybe more in, out towards this area is something that I'm really focused on. So we also train peers. That's a big part of what we do as well. We have a Recovery Coach Academy, so and we'd like to be able to send those peers out to all of our communities, not just, when we need them everywhere. So.
Tom, I know you've been around the block in this particular subject area for a long time, so your expertise
Absolutely.
is super needed.
Well, for me, it's reality. It's I was kind of almost thinking like the Serenity prayer. You gotta, control the things that you can and let go of the other things that you can't. So yeah, I sat on the governor's heroin and opioid task force, and I'm still called upon on occasion by that organization. And it was like, why was I? And I was the sole educator brought on, but I was also brought on because of my experience as a former hospital board member, EMT, and living in a rural area. And one of the things that we did is we generated this report. The thing that interests me some, and I shared it with Julia, was what was omitted. And so I have a reflection that I share with the governor's office at the end of our 6-month journey into this epidemic statewide. And the thing that I would really want from everybody here is reality. And it's great to have pie in the sky ideas, but there's certain things that you can't control. You have legislative controls. You have certain medical controls. You have politics that get involved with a lot of this. You also have social stigma issues. You have lots of different issues associated with that. I mean, nobody wants a methadone clinic in their neighborhood, for example. I've heard a lot of people come to me, why don't we distribute methadone in Delaware County? Because it's just not a reality that we could ever really pull off. The restrictions associated with methadone are expansive. The other thing that I would always like to advocate for, because I am an educator by trade, by one of my hats, but my main hat, is to make sure that we're sensitive to understanding the reality of the impact that it has on families and children, and how that has an impact on all the other social service systems around the block. So basically, the one thing I need from this coalition is reality. And if we can look at the things that we can do through the medical community, what we could do locally, but also understand that some of the things that you need to do also require advocacy on the state and or federal level, then you should really dissect it in that manner.
Thank you, Tom. Well, Mary?
I'm Mary Rosenthal from the Alcohol and Drug Abuse Council, and we are a prevention, information, referral, and recovery advocacy agency. And I belong as a member of the Catskills Addiction Coalition. I am the chairperson of the Rural Healthcare Alliance of Delaware County, and I'm on the board of Friends of Recovery Delaware-Otsego. And what I think we need, and I'm on the task force, treatment coordinator.
You bridge a lot of them.
I do. And what I think, I'm going to say what Callie did, is communication. And, we have found in doing other projects, communication really lacks. And not that we have to be involved in everybody's separate little project, but we need to know about it. And that's what seems to lack. So if we could figure out how we can get just all the information out there, even if we're not on that particular committee. And we found that with Callie's task force, the different committees. It's kind of like silos. If we could, instead of operating as separate silos, let's operate as a singular silo.
Yeah, and I'm totally just stealing your committee structure, by the way. So
You did good.
I told her it was okay.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I got permission. Arnie?
I'm a former guidance counselor on kids, and I've been working with kids all my life. I'm now watching my kids that I saw as high school kids still involved in the whole problem of drugs and their interface with the legal system and how our courts are handling it, and the fact that bottom line is they don't have anything locally. This is why we started our whole CAC, that they have to travel forever to get to some support, and there's no transportation. So we've been starting to address those things over a year ago, and this is fantastic. This will make this committee really happen if it isn't already.
Jonathan?
I'm Jonathan from the Mountaintop Advocacy Coalition. We need to change our name also because nobody can say it.
Mountaintop Advocacy Coalition.
We're gonna, so this, I agree, you know, if you've been in this field, and really I've only been doing this as a volunteer for a couple of years with Scott, but a strong dose of realism. You don't have to be in it too long to understand how challenging it is to be in this space and how beat up you can be. So I agree with that. On the other hand, I hadn't heard about you until last night, so miracles do happen.
Whoa, those last minute emails, guys.
Yeah, last minute emails. So I just wanted to, infuse a dose of things happen. We started 2 years. I'll make this very brief. We started 2 years ago. We had a forum on recovery and prevention in Wyndham. The Mountaintop Advocacy Coalition is a group specifically designed to deal with substance abuse disorders and recovery in 9 towns on the top of the mountain. I live in Wyndham. It's Haines Falls. It's Lexington. It's
Hockett?
Prattsville. What's
Hockett?
No. So
So you got to expand to Hockett.
Well, we're very specific. When we started the coalition is made up of 2 pharmacists, a doctor, some first responders, some law enforcement. Anybody that we could get to be on it is on it. And we have, our mission primarily was to bring the agencies which are siloed and not trying to serve the rural community, because we're, Catskill is the big town.
Right.
So trying
Down
to
in the
serve
valley.
us. So we understand about siloing and fragmentation. And so we have started this community and this group to address that. And we have been idling at this starting line for a while. Tremendous amount of interest. The agencies know who we are. Services are beginning to come. And yet we're trying to figure out what to do next. And so here you are. And we're here to network.
That's
really.
Fabulous. We're going to work together.
Yes,
Awesome.
absolutely.
I'm sorry to push this along, but let's keep it short because we are starting to run over. Deb, a sentence or two. Oh, Drew, I'm sorry. I'll be better. Drew.
It's okay. I respond to a lot of different names.
What do you need? What do you need from us?
I just underscored it is not only communication, but relationships that make things either work or fail. The lack of communication, the lack of relation. Even the face-to-face contact is extremely important and is always undersold in projects just sitting around this table. My long view is over 30 years working in prevention, first in substance abuse in Delaware County. And the thing is that I look at your agenda here and I see the same things that would have been on an agenda 30 years ago.
Yes.
And I've been involved with some of them, particularly like transportation and with youth. And I think it's important for people who have long views, and there are a lot of people at this table, to put that, talk about reality, put that out and anticipate what boundaries and barriers you're going to hit against and contemplate how to counter that before you even go out, like transportation. The thing that I don't see reflected here, because it's the undercurrent in so much of this, is our economy or lack thereof. Poverty.
Yes.
Is a big villain in this, in every way that you look at it. And if we can't somehow recognize that and incorporate that view into our programs, we're going to be limited in having positive outcomes.
Thank you. And yeah, that's something that Joy St. George, who's another one of our co-founders who isn't here today, has been doing a lot of work on the poverty side of things, sort of talking about things from that angle. So yes, that's something we can focus on more explicitly. Ken, tell us what you need.
I need clarification, I think is the one word to describe it. I'm one of the directors of behavioral health services, part of the Westchester Medical Center Health Network. Margaretville Hospital is part of the network. The Health Alliance Hospitals in Kingston are part of the network. Mid-Hudson Regional Hospital, Westchester Medical Center itself. Some of us were involved in writing the grant application that's supporting this work. And it's very gratifying. It's really to see you all here and participating and sharing your thoughts and experiences. Just very delighted. And should give Julia credit, I think, probably for a lot of the fact that this is coming together so nicely. But I think, you know, with so much work having been done, with so much discussion having been taken place, I'd like to try to clarify, you know, what role can we play, we being the Westchester behavioral health system, what role can we play, what role would you like us to play in the plans that you're developing, that you're evolving, that would kind of make use of our own experience and expertise. We do operate inpatient and outpatient substance abuse services in Kingston and Poughkeepsie, and have staff and have very well trained and experienced professionals, you know, operating those programs. We don't have anything like that here, but in some fashion, we might be able to bring some of those substance abuse services, you know, to Margaretville Hospital or other locations in Delaware County. But at this point, I think what I would find helpful is just clarifying what role you all think we could play, you know, as a hospital system, as you know, the operators of some substance abuse programs, and how it might integrate into everything else you're now doing and planning to do. So that would really be my primary need.
Awesome. Okay. Linda, I didn't mean to skip you.
That's quite all right.
What do you need?
Well, I just need people to talk to each other.
Okay. Communicate.
That's my thing.
Okay. This is, as you can see, we're taking time on this because this is really the only thing that I think super matters. I can always tell you in writing what the committees are working on, but this is my huge goal for today. Diana, what do you need?
I need people to understand that we need to keep our eye on the prize, and that it's the end aim here of improving access to prevention, treatment, and recovery. And regardless of what else happens, we need to keep that front and center.
Okay.
So,
Mark Pohar is our executive director at Margaretville Hospital. Thanks so much for coming, Mark. What do you need from this group?
Well, I'm excited to collaborate with Ms. Dorsham as the executive director of the hospital and for the WMC Health. We're here at the medical treatment facility in the area to do whatever we can to help support and push your objectives and goals forward. Like Dr. Laflatus has said, you know, we have a very strong network in behavioral health through WMC Health, and whatever we can do as part of the on the medical side, we're here to support it.
That's awesome. Randy's a pharmacist here. What do you need?
I really need nothing.
How can we use you? Lies.
Just awareness that the hospital is open to pharmacy, retail pharmacy, and we get into your medication assisted therapies. If there's things we can do to support that, we're here and willing to do what we can. We're here to hospital really open. So consider us a resource for your pharmaceutical needs.
That's awesome. Julie?
Well, I think from an infection control perspective, with the drug use, there is increased promiscuity because of lack of impulse control, and or is it an exchange for their drugs? When I see someone who's 20 years old and has syphilis, it's pretty upsetting. You see the multiple, like 25 sexual partners in 1 month that they're admitting to, the drug use in different counties. The young women coming in, more women than men, who come into the ED being tested for chlamydia, gonorrhea. So you're seeing a lot more of that. And I think, again, as an infection control perspective, the education has to get out there, yes, for the drugs, but also for the sex. I mean, the population is getting younger and younger to see this. There are different gonorrhea infections that are resistant to some of the antibiotics. Syphilis, I mean, when have we seen syphilis like we're seeing now? IV drug abuse, syphilis is transmitted. You have the HIV, which seems to be less. More of the HIV I see are people who are already in treatment, hepatitis C, not all drug use, but a lot, and we could prevent these people coming into the ED, you know, and learning safe sex. I did reach out with the help of Mark and his wife. I ordered condoms. Yes, I still have not received them. I think because the state is gearing more towards the university setting and the school setting, I will reach out again for more condoms. I have a basket of tick removal and literature in the ED waiting room. I'd like to put a basket of condoms.
That's a great idea.
But the education needs to get out there. Kids are getting older now. We have, you know, just the pregnancy rate is young. We're passing it on to the children. So from that perspective, it's pretty compelling. Some of the stuff that comes through.
Thanks for sharing that. I was not expecting that. I didn't know about that.
Let me just clarify the condom issue. My wife worked for the health system in Westchester, and I called her one day, and I said, "What do you do?" She said, "I'm ordering condoms." I said, "Okay, tell me why you're ordering condoms." Well, we use them in the college, and people come up and pick their condoms. So I said,
"Judy needs
them." Yeah, so I said, "Judy needs some condoms."
This is the kind of collaboration we want to foster.
Right.
To be here to help support as a hospital member, whatever the program, and I have a real personal connection with drug abuse and my family, so thank you for sharing.
Carol.
Yes.
I would like to see recognition of some of the dysfunction that is caused by the drug abuse. There are so many grandparents now that are raising grandchildren because of addictions in their families. And there's an older population that is been geared on opioids because of hip replacement, you know, other medical problems that I'm not sure how that is being addressed. So that is some of the people.
And also, as a discharge planner, you are able to coordinate care, right, in a lot of different.
But it's very difficult, and transportation
Yep.
is also one of
One of the things I want both Kaylee and David to know is that Carol doesn't really know about recovery coaches, and she's one of these people who I think would be a great connector. Like, you would be one of the people calling recovery coaches to help you. We'll talk more about that.
Okay.
Chad, tell me a little, say what Oracle is doing and what we can do to help you.
So first and foremost, I'm a parent of 14-year-old triplets. So
Oh my God. Triplets? Jesus.
And they're awesome.
Chad and I are pretty fun.
Got it.
Okay.
So back in January, we had a new sheriff elected, John Figueroa, and this is his, and I'm going to use his quote. What we're doing in law enforcement is working to address the opioid epidemic. So he says, "How are you at writing grants?" I go, "I've never done it." He goes, "Well, good luck. It's due by June." So we wrote the comprehensive opioid response for law enforcement grant, which my understanding is that we didn't get that. However, that is not going to stop us from continuing with our program. So Oracle, stands for Opioid Response for County Law Enforcement. We are partnering with some great partners. David and Sumati is one of them. Captain Cherry is another one. And it's got multiple phases to it. Phase one is community outreach and education. So through donations to the Sheriff's Foundation and many supporters, we were able to go out and buy a camper. Why a camper? So the camper is a living quarters. So we went and picked it out. We picked it out so it's walking in this side, you're walking into a living room, walking into the kitchen, through the bathroom, through the bedroom. And our approach is, hey, when you're walking into this living area, what do you see? What are some of the normal drug paraphernalia? Now, for us in law enforcement, we see things when we walk in people's houses that the average person doesn't see. A bent spoon that's dirty, a missing shoelace from somebody's shoe, cotton swabs, Brillo pads. So we educate them on things to look for. One of the biggest things, and it actually struck me while we were school shopping, was There's a lot of things where kids are very ingenious and they find hiding spots, and they have fake Coca-Cola cans and fake SpaghettiO cans. So I'm standing in JCPenney in Poughkeepsie, checking out, and I look over to my left, and they're selling SpaghettiO cans that are fake. Screw them, throw your stuff in there, and just sit there. So you don't know to look for that stuff. So that is and then we end all that with giving local resources and Narcan training. So we rolled that out at our county fair. We were very successful. We trained hundreds of people in Narcan, and also just made the awareness of what's going on as far as the epidemic. So phase 2 is a hotline, which we are hopefully going to roll out by November 1st, which is just a couple of days. The hotline rolls into our office. There's been some discussion on training for our dispatchers because we are a 24/7 operation. We do have civilian dispatchers to make an initial evaluation, just like any emergency call that comes in. If we're thinking it's a immediate threat, we'll send a uniform patrol out just to check and make sure that it's not like threatening. And if it's something that can wait until our team members are available, we'll send them out. So our team members, our contact team, so to speak, are a plainclothes deputy sheriff or detective, whichever, a peer advocate, hopefully with our partnership with Somali Catholic Charities and People's USA. That's an important part, so I'm sure it's going to happen. As well as some type of substance abuse counselor that's trained. So we'll get together, we'll plot out our plan of attack for the county, and we'll start stopping in and seeing people that are calling in our hotline.
And right, so someone calls the hotline, and within 48 hours, you send out this 4-person
We're saying
team.
48 hours. However, we are hoping that it's going to be way sooner than that.
Okay.
That's, our goal is 48 hours based on, obviously everybody has limited manpower and budgets or issues. So we're saying within 48 hours, we are going to reach out to the family member that called, or actually make contact with the person that is of concern. I'll tell you, without having a hotline and just our community outreach with the local trailer, we have had people come to us already. And for that to happen, for people to come to law enforcement for help in this area is
huge,
amazing, and huge.
Very, very game changing.
And I'll just speak to one particular case, which was, I knew this person had an issue. I'm very close with some family members. Family member reached out to me and said, "Hey, what can we do?" I go, "Well, let me talk to her." So I made contact with her. I don't want to get, I was too close. I didn't want to get too into discussing her options and stuff. So I had one of the other team members reach out to her. We ended up getting her into a 14-day rehab. She did very well. One of the things that is a big part of this is follow-up afterwards. So we got her out of the environment that she was living in, made arrangements and kind of like a safety plan, so to speak, and got her in a place with another family member that's a way more safe environment than where she was. And she's doing well. Just one of the team members checked with her just the other day, and she's doing well. She's got a job and things are going well. So that is just one success story. We have been able to push some other people into treatment and get them where they need to go. And that is just with some limited community outreach stuff.
It's basically having people whose job it is in the department to talk about this from this harm reduction sensibility, right?
Correct.
Like just changing your orientation has already reaped results.
So like I said in the beginning, Sheriff Figueroa coming in and said, "Hey, listen, this is not working. Our law enforcement approach is not working. So this is his change. This is his idea." Part of the Oracle program is MAT in jail. I'm not a jail guy. I can't speak to it. I know that we are working closely with Crime Care, who are medical people that run our jail medical staff. They also are in, I think they're in Albany and a couple of bigger counties. So they already have MAT in other facilities, so they're familiar with it. And, it's going to be a go. It's just a matter of working out all the details.
What do you need from us?
Just the fact that you're allowing me to sit here with you guys is amazing. We have a lot of
you. Yeah, we super need you.
Dr. Goldberg is obviously our MD and has a lot of information.
Actually, that isn't obvious. You're the medical examiner for Ulster County. So you're on the Ulster County Drug Use Task Force, right?
And,
Yeah.
David from Samadi is an awesome resource, and they branch out here for you guys. So the fact that we can all just talk and get our information out there, we get a lot of intelligence. And it's for us at this point, it's not all about making that stupid arrest. So that's where we're going. That's our direction. That's where we're going.
So you kind of
And you know what my drive is. What's that?
Going into the lead, kind of.
So lead.
Law enforcement assisted
I know,
diversion.
So
No, but
Julia asked me about it at the meeting last week.
Oh, it kind of sounds
And we, a couple years ago, attempted to get the Parry program in.
Same thing.
And our concern was the lack of follow-up. And if somebody comes into the station and say, hey, I want help, you just hand them off to a volunteer angel, and that's not good enough for us.
Mhm.
So it started with the town of Woodstock was the lead agency, did a great job. They just didn't get the buy-in from the community for it. It's really hard to get out to. I don't know why, but over the many meetings that we went to about the Parry program, that we always brought up that concern of there's no follow-up. And at that point, there was no real collaboration with Westchester and these other healthcare facilities. So we were sending people out of state, and we were working on getting plane tickets. And it just wasn't a well thought out program. So
okay. That's huge. We want to learn from things that have been tried that haven't totally worked, so that we can do them differently. So thank you. I super appreciate it.
Thanks.
Again, I'm going to provide an out for you because we're going over, just so you know that not everybody's going to be here for a while. But I do want to do this because I think it's more important than pretty much anything else. Becky from the local gym.
Okay, so I have a degree in recreation and leisure studies, and I don't know too much about substance abuse. However, I focus on wellness, and I feel like recreation is a place where you become recreated. And so I worked in social services in Delaware County a long time ago. And some of the things that I did with the Delaware County youth was I would take them for bike rides. I would go on hikes. And now I see those kids as adults, and they don't talk about their problems necessarily. They talk about what we did together. And I see the rec center as a resource for collaborating with everyone. One thing that we did over the summer, Margaretville Hospital Auxiliary came to me and said, we want some programming, prevention programming and recovery programming. And this kind of taps into the money and the lack of resources. Jobs. So we did a swim to guard program, and we targeted the disconnected youth of ages 15 to 24. And we did a swim, so we worked on their swimming skills. And then throughout the whole summer, they had membership at the rec center. And then by the end of the summer, they got certified as lifeguards. We hired one of the people who actually, I initially grabbed that child because he came in with his little brother. His grandfather had driven in, and they were looking for free helmets, which I had gotten from the sheriff's department a while back, and we were trying to clear out the closet. And so they came in, and I said, how old are you? And he said 15. And I said, what about this program that we're offering? And so he came in, and he is now a lifeguard at the rec center. So that gives him an opportunity to have employment. And that's something that I'd like to work on more. It's hard. I think sometimes people are afraid that, you have to know how to swim, or you have to be a good swimmer, which is true. Yes, when you at the end you do, but we will work. We have swim instructors and things like that. That's just one piece. And then the recovery part, I talked to my staff, and one of the big fears that they had was we don't know how to interact properly with people who have substance abuse challenges, or what if they're having some kind of a big need or an anxiety or a breakdown. We don't know what to do. We're not trained in that. We know how to lift weights and do things like that, but so that's the part that I think we need, is more of the education, the recovery coach. So we are a resource, and one of my other dream kind of things is to do a triathlon. Okay, so we're into recovery, and what do we do now with our time and our energy And like triathlons take up a lot of time training. You can get hooked on that, and it can totally consume you. And for people who have sort of are prone to addiction type behaviors, that's one that'll keep you busy for a while. But it can go into another direction. But I see the rec center as a resource, and I personally love children and working. So I I'd like to hear what you've done in the past and I worked at Camp Chinkatunk for 4 years as the director. But I think starting from the base, but also seeing the whole, like the family, and how can we serve those people and and get them enjoying what they're doing. So like as a caseworker, we would prescribe you'd have the sheet that you would list out, what are we going to send this person to, and then they'd have to go to mental health, and all of that's good if they're buying into it and they connect with the people. But if they're connecting with their inner self and it feels good to exercise in the long run, and it gives you that high for a much longer time, how can we get them wanting to do that and being well and strong and healthy? So that's where we're from, and we want to help out, and just knowing how and reaching out to the other people. So if we had a recovery coach coming to the triathlon training program, and we have a check-in thing, anybody can participate, but we have the other people that are connecting with us.
Absolutely. Love it. Kaylee, I'd love it if you would say a little bit, because my schedule is all shot to hell. If you could say a little bit about recovery coaches too while you're talking.
So my name is Kaylee Reardon. I'm the program manager at the Turning Point, which is our county's recovery community outreach center.
Delaware County.
Correct.
Right. So we've got no, and it's confusing. So we've got Delaware County and Ulster County kind of in the same realm with David.
Yeah. So we're located in Delhi. I'm a person in long-term recovery myself. For me, what that means is that I haven't had to use a mind-altering substance aside from caffeine and nicotine since November 1st, 2009. So, and I have to say that a major part of my own personal recovery path has been triathlon and exercise.
No
so
kidding.
I can confirm that as an anecdotal, example. Yeah. So, what we currently have at the recovery center is we have 3 peers or recovery coaches, and then we have programming. Which actually we've collaborated an agreement with our local fitness center in Delhi so that people can go for free. We see multiple pathways as being the way forward in recovery for people, and I can talk to anybody who wants to talk more about that concept. It's a defining principle of recovery coaching. So, so we actually had a new coach start on Monday. His plan is going to be doing outreach within the community of Delaware County. He's going to be located in Sydney for 2 days a week, and then we're hoping for him to also be in other hospitals and areas within Delaware County. I could talk at length about.
What do you need from us? How can we support what you're doing?
I think that the piece that I haven't heard anything about, I agree with a lot of what has come out in this conversation, is a willingness to look at new ideas and a willingness to grow as a group and stretch what we think works. Because the judicial model for getting people free from their substance use disorder, and even our treatment model, has left a lot of people out in the cold. And so there's a lot of evidence that there are other things that can help people, but we have to, I think that as a community, we have to stretch what we see as a viable option for how we help people and reach people. And that's a lot of what we do. We do a lot of advocacy, even on the legislative level. So
So just that open-mindedness.
Yeah, and I just want to stress again before we move on that we're all going to come from slightly different places. That's the part of working together as a community. We're not all going to agree on all of our principles even. And we're going to just work with what we got. And that's going to be exciting. And we're going to figure stuff out that's going to be working with all of our tools. But if there's, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it does require that people be transparent upfront.
Yes.
And honest in saying, expressing concerns.
Yes, or tensions, or like, there are going to be some automatic tensions between certain different kinds of programs that we're going to be collaborating among. We're going to live with it. We're going to work it out. But yeah, tell us when something doesn't jive or something that your organization doesn't work well with. We desperately need that. And that way we can find ways we do work well together.
And can I just add that the coalition, as part of the grant, collaborative communities grant with Delhi, held a meeting with businesses to talk about businesses being recovery friendly and hiring people in recovery. So we're really looking, we need the certified recovery coaches to be able to build that out more. So we've been working with Fordo, maybe we can work with you as well to try to show that out.
And we hope that you guys, go ahead.
Can I just asterisks? I don't mean to infer that like people that access treatment or go through the judicial system don't get the help they need, but that doesn't work for everyone.
Right.
So that has saved all the people who have accessed recovery, like a lot of them have gone through those systems and they've worked for people. I just think there are people we're missing.
Yeah, exactly. There are gaps that we're going to try and branch and fill. Scott.
Yeah, I am, in addition to being a part of the Mountaintop Advocacy Coalition, I am also a recovery coach too. Last March, I took my training with Purdue. And actually 2 years ago, almost today, I think I entered long-term treatment. And at that point, I had lost nearly everything. My wife was done with me. And so if you say you're in recovery, if you're in recovery when you say you are, technically, 2 years or so before that, I knew I needed to change. I knew, and I struggled through that time with a lot of ups and downs. And when I took the recovery coach training, it was like a light bulb went off that this is what I needed during that time. And I didn't have to really hit bottom at that point. And so, yeah, I've just tried to pour into that. And when I saw on the agenda that was a big part of it, I know Kaylee and have a lot of respect for her and other people there. I want to be a part of that. My life, I had nothing. And now 2 years later, I'm, doing great. And
awesome.
I want to give my life to that. So, so anytime that comes up, I'm going to be a part of it. And so I appreciate the opportunity.
What do you need from us? What can we do to support what you're doing?
I think the communication piece, just knowing about what's going on. I don't need a lot. I think just the opportunity and communication.
Yeah. Okay.
We need you.
We absolutely need you. And also, I just want to stress that we're extremely grateful for everyone who's in recovery, who's talking about it, and also who isn't talking about it. One of the things I really want to stress is that it's us. We're all in this together. There's no them, there's no other. And you have to keep in mind that anybody you're ever interacting with could be struggling with this kind of thing right now. So that is one of the, I hope, values we can all share. Whatever pathways to recovery we think work or don't, as long as we can be sensitive to the fact that there are people probably who are afraid to talk about their journeys. And we want to support them and help them. Okay, there are a couple folks on the call. I want to make sure that they have a chance to weigh in. And then we're going to take a break and have some food. Emily, do you have anything that you want to say about what you need from us?
Yes, I just wanted to, I guess, again, say communication. I see a lot of patients through the ER and also on our inpatient floor trying to get people into detox and inpatient. And so we live in an area where we all know we have extremely limited supports to offer, and just looking for collaboration with partners so that we can provide the most for the people that we all serve.
Thanks, Emily. Scott, what do we need? What do you need?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you and Kim for coming to treatment court the other day. I appreciate that. And I'd like to say that one of the things we need help with is stable housing and transportation. There's many opportunities that we could serve more people, but transportation and housing seem to be a major problem for us in the area.
We're working on that.
Hey, Scott, you ought to look into the NICEAG building in Hamden. I don't think they use that anymore.
Kim has a lot of empty places for housing that she's been thinking of. We'll talk about more.
I appreciate that, Kim.
We'll do that in committee, Kim. Jessica, what do you need from us?
Well, you know, I'm there for communication. Ever since I realized I knew nothing about the epidemic when a nephew overdosed 5 years ago, you know, I've been on a journey of making a lot of films and going out to do outreach with the films, which is the most important part of the films. But I just see what their power is for lobbying and for education. So hate to say it, but funding is what I need, and projects.
Thank you for being transparent about that. She's a filmmaker who made a film called Smacked that was really about drug use in, there we go. Thank you, Jonathan. Drug use in Delaware County specifically. And what she's talking about is panels of people who are in recovery who go along with the film to talk about their journeys. And it's a wild way to get people face to face and to actually see, oh, it's us, not them.
November 11th.
Oh, it's being screened November 11th in Wyndham. Awesome. Anybody else on the call want to speak up? Let's see, I'm gonna call you out.
This is Susie.
Susie, yes, please.
What I need is for you all to make sure that you stay on task and sure that you fulfill all your deliverables and requirements for the grant, and to supply me with information so that I can apply for the implementation grant and other funding sources. So you guys do the work, I'll write the grants.
Yay! We're so lucky to have someone doing that. It's so great. Karen Driscoll, do you have anything you need from us?
Really not a whole lot, since I live in Ulster County and work in Orange County, but
no, you need us. Look at all these Ulster County people. There's so many here.
So I think as I work with the coalition on the social media, and I'm learning. I work in oncology and have really just since starting with the coalition last year, have had an eye-opening experience about what is going on in our communities and all the surrounding counties in Sullivan, Ulster, Delaware counties, and we're all, you know, so close to each other, and have recognized that there's such an issue. I think I want information from you all so that I can share that on social media, and also as I work in healthcare, how I can learn to advocate for this patient population and share that with other healthcare providers in the surrounding communities.
And I think what would also be helpful is if we sent around the links to our social media platforms, and if you would like it, follow us, as well as share it with others to follow us, and also send Karen photos. We're on Instagram. We've got a big following, you know, it's all relative. Following on Instagram, but we're also on Facebook.
We're going to be a clearinghouse for information, and Kim and I can function as the node of that so that Karen doesn't get overwhelmed, and then we can, or you can just send it straight to Karen. We'll follow up about this. I just don't want any volunteers.
Karen, can you put your email in the comments?
Oh, sure. Let's just let me write it in there for you. Okay.
Anyone else on the call feel a burning need?
I'm on the call. It's PRC. It's Megan. I'm just like popping in sort of to say hi.
What do you need from us?
So my need for you guys is just to, you know, use the PRC as a resource as best we can, and let us help you is my need. So that's all. Nothing major.
Keep you looped in and make sure that we're functioning well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, our job is to work with all coalitions to try to make sure that you guys are effective in the work that you're doing, and that, you know, it's valuable, and we know it is down in Margaretville. So we just want to make sure that you know that we're here, and that you guys use us as often as you can, and that you're okay with that, I guess is the easiest way to say it.
Okay,
so,
awesome.
And I know I'll be meeting Julia with you more often to sort of tell you a little bit more about us.
Yes,
so,
we love that you're participating. Thank you both, Mika and Megan. Yep. Anyone else?
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Oh my. I didn't.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah, I need your goodwill, good faith that we're all in this together, and there's going to be disputes, and we're not all going to be on the same page all the time. And so your good faith effort to work with each other, try to trust each other when stuff might not be aligned. I'm going to try to solve those problems by getting you in a room with somebody else. That's going to be my sort of mode, so that we can sit down and talk about what our shared work can be. I am a Pollyanna that way. So that, just your goodwill and good faith to work with me. And also your ideas. And also tell me when I'm on the wrong track, okay? I take direction and rejection very well. So tell me if stuff is a waste of time, if you think this isn't working. We are only as strong as our good ideas. Okay.
Can I make one suggestion?
Please, I love it.
Because we do represent a large chunk of our state, and in power, in numbers comes power. I would make a recommendation that you reach out to Oasis.
Yes. Yep.
And at least have a liaison and a contact with Oasis.
Okay.
Rob,
We can help you with that too.
That's Megan? Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
personally know Rob Kent, who's their chief counsel.
Yes.
But it comes down to the fact that if you want to start doing some coordinated work and you're going to need some sort of state support, you definitely should reach out to Oasis and have a guide or a representative or an advocate on the Oasis staff working with.
This would be for medication-assisted treatment or recovery coaching.
It's the Office of Substance Abuse Services.
Anything. Okay, anything.
It's them.
Okay. No, that's a connection I haven't made yet. What was the name of your contact? Can you tell me?
Rob.
Okay, great. All right.
You know, Rob.
No, I'm writing.
Yeah.
And Julia, Ken can help you with that. He's very well connected with
Oasis. Got it. Okay.
Well, and I can reach out to Rob too.
Would you?
But I would on behalf if you wanted me to. But again, you really, that would be my recommendation that you get Oasis.
Yes, please reach out to him. Can you put me in touch with him and have him just advise us? That would be amazing. I'm going to tell you, this is all I'm going to do on number 4, and then we're going to eat, is that we're having a summit in January. Everyone is invited. January 24th at the Margaretville Telephone Company conference area. It's where we had our summit last year. 200 people showed up.
100 people showed up last time we watched.
Oh, we have, sorry, 100 people showed up. Excuse me. And
I'll deal.
January 24th.
Thank you.
Probably from like 8:30 till 2. That's what we did last time. But we'll get more details on that, and we'll do a draft agenda and send you that, as well as the aims or expected outcomes, with the feedback on all of that in the meantime. What we really need for you to do is to reach out to other people you know who need to be in the room. And I want to point out that the original coalition, we reached out to all sectors in our community, including the arts, environmental, with the idea that this is also about prevention, and Becky's points about, how do we engage young people in other ways that are going to, have them feel good about themselves. So I would encourage you to think broadly about that, and we'll try to recreate. We had a sectors document that listed the various sectors in the community, what were the organizations and who were the people representing those organizations that we wanted to reach out to, and who would do the outreach. And that's why we get 100 people in the room, which was significant for these three towns at that point. So we need all of your help in doing that kind of sector identification, organization, and person identification, and then doing the outreach.
And if anybody wants to be involved in the nitty-gritty of this summit as a planner, we have a steering committee that is going to be doing that work. So if anyone's interested, you're welcome. No pressure. I'm going to ask a lot of you to be involved in other ways. And if you have ideas, I'm looking at you, Chad. But I'm also looking at you, Callie. So we have a lot of, we'll have a lot more communication about that down the line.
Julia, just one thing. Last year, we had a registration, and we had about 60 people, and we weren't sure we were going to fill the house. 100 showed up. If you thought of 200, you may want to make sure that registration's clear.
Well, Karen, if you're still on the video, we'll be in touch. We organized this last year.
Okay. I just want to say something because I was an ER nurse before I was education. So knowing what's gone on in Ulster County with the 5 overdoses over the weekend is really good information for us to have, because unfortunately a good portion of our drug population comes from Kingston Way because it's the closest highway.
So,
Well, this is why OD maps is extremely important, because you don't have to have that communication all the time. It's kind of digital.
It's right there, but as good as OD Maps is, I mean, the fact that the health department and the ME's office reached out to us, and then just the other organizations that we're dealing with, and you have a central repository for all the overdose information that comes in.
I think just sitting here and seeing like Ulster medical examiners at the table, that's very different.
So they, Rachel, their investigator, is amazing, and she will reach out to us too and say, I just saw a spike here. So
We may be pulling you in for that too.
Yeah, we'd love to learn.
The conversation we had yesterday, Vin Martello, who was part of our opioid task force in the health department, calls me and says, hey, what do you think about a public service announcement? And I go, sure, I'm good with it. Let me just check with the sheriff and see, his take is. And it was, yes, let's do it. So.
And we're doing a community forum on Saturday too.
Oh, no kidding.
So this is all Ulster County. This is
Ulster County, I believe it was last year, Dr. Per capita, we were the #1 most fatality county.
This is
Vin
Martello. Those are.
We have it.
You have it?
We have it. Public health has it. The issue is, so Ulster County must have also received the opioid crisis funding that
They did through
Delaware County.
Columbia University.
It's from the CDC. It's different.
I think Columbia helped.
The overdose data is always backtracked by about 1 or 2 years. But we're red. This whole area is red. Some's dark. Some of the area is dark red. I've seen the data before.
So for data sharing, we'd like to connect you and help and support so the Delaware County and also Greene County and Sullivan have more awareness of what's going on. Also, we need tips for how to work with our other partners. About how to do this.
I will put a plug out that our next task force meeting is December 6th. It will be held at Delaware Opportunities. It's a Friday.
Do you have a data committee also?
We do. This is part of the issue. And I could speak at length as well about some of our barriers and things that we're looking to do. But that's why we're all meeting, because I think that everyone else is interested in data as well. If we have the right people at the table.
Yeah.
We're trying to streamline our data in that obviously we have multiple small. So our presentation to the Ulster County Police Chiefs Association next week is, okay, here's our Oracle form, digital, fill in a couple blanks, send it to us and let us be the repository. So that's, hopefully we'll have our data faster than what we've done.
We've done it. We've done the same thing.
I'm going to push pause on the data conversation because we will talk and I will facilitate this. But Kurt, go ahead.
There's this one thing kind of, through the medical examiner's office, there's such an important conversation. What I was seeing last year on fatalities is suicide note epidemic due to pain. So we still have to figure out how to deal with pain, cutting off the opiates, getting the overdose rate down.
That's a big one.
Not factoring in the things like this.
Right.
We're misleading ourselves for whatever that is.
Not only that, people who have been cut off for pain meds are now going out and buying heroin.
That's doing
Suicide. Yeah.
Okay.
I know
We've done way over this.
Everybody agrees that communication is essential, but not just between the people who are, like all of these people involved at a certain level. It is when you get the real community talking, and going back a couple of decades, when I first started doing HIV prevention education, everybody was like, not here.
Yeah.
And I did one for BOCES teachers. They were a huge group. What was interesting to me about that, the most effective thing, was how many people came up at the end and said, well, my nephew, my niece, my uncle, my father, and everybody heard that. So it's the communication within the community that breaks through the wall that says it's not happening here, or it's not as bad as people say.
Right. It's
getting the community to actually talk about this that doesn't pushes us forward.
I agree. Okay, guys, here's our plan. I'm going to say that we're going to end the formal portion of the meeting now and let you grab a snack. And if you want to come back and stay for the committee reports that are much more nitty gritty, you're welcome to do that. But anybody who's got to run can. I just want to keep this under my 90 minutes. What do you think about that, Diana?
Well, I have to, I thought we were ending at noon.
We can end at noon.
And I
was aiming.
think if people need a break, we could do that.
Okay.
But I think if we could come back and do the quick reports,
Okay.
it would let people see where we're at with various things.
I'm down with that.
And if anybody wants to volunteer to work on something.
Yeah, that's really, everybody before you leave, if you can make sure you've given Kim your information so that we know who you are. And also which project you want to work on, which committee you want me to start nagging you about.
So why don't we take about 7 minutes?
7 minutes, there's lots of yummies outside.
I'm really excited. We started our process with our cases. Department of Mental Health.
That's what you're thinking. I should introduce you.
I think I've seen that.
What's the name of the grant?
The HOSA HRSA implementation.
So what I need to do is, so I need to text Michael right now.
I just want you to tell me how.
Delaware County has a spot. It's not Delaware County. It's 3 years Delaware County, or it's next to York County.
Where's he?
He's about to go to trial on the 8th. I don't think so.
There you go. Off the road.
And it would be weird if it hasn't come up already.
No, if it's not Delaware County, it's Scott.
Oh, he knows them all. Yeah.
Well, let me know what you need. Let me know what you need. Tell me, talk amongst yourself.
How many meetings do you have to go to today?
Hi guys, I'm pausing. We'll reconvene in 5 minutes. I'm sorry you don't get snacks, folks on the Zoom. We're reconvening. I've just started recording again.
We need a bell. Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, I have a thing for you. I'm wondering if we can, in exchange for like gift certificates or something, have folks answer the survey.
Okay.
Just, this is a rough idea. And you have, like, don't do that. I'll just find out.
Okay.
I'll contact you more.
So,
all right, come on in.
We have only a half hour and we need 5 minutes to talk about next steps and ongoing communication. So I suggest that we
I haven't heard.
prioritize these
Thank you for calling.
in terms of what's most important to make sure we get in today and what we can wait on.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, so we're going to jump right into updates about what we're doing. Feel free to jump in, but yeah, we're going to keep it short. And I'm going to stand over there so I can be on the recording. Okay, these are the committees that are actively doing projects. The first one is recovery coaches. We're actively looking into staffing recovery coaches basically wherever they can be useful. So we've already been talking with Kaylee at Delaware County Purdue about potentially putting a recovery coach in our building next door, called the Huggins Building. 1 day a week, 2 days a week. We'd love your office to be able to use that as a resource. We'd love, there's a KSAC and a mental health counselor with Delaware County Mental Health who already are in this building on Fridays. I've talked with Cindy Heaney at Mental Health. She's totally psyched about collaborating with us as long as it doesn't mess with her system and as long as everyone gets along, right? There are all these issues, but the idea is get a recovery coach here, 1 or 2, they can work potentially with staff here in a non-invasive, not in your face way, but like if someone comes into the ED, we can grab them, you know? And I'm curious about working with recovery coaches from multiple areas. So Mountaintop, maybe a day a week, maybe somebody from Ulster a day a week. Ideally, well, we can talk more about certification and like how many hours one would need. But this is what we're sort of looking at. I would love if Kaylee could talk a little bit about recovery-friendly businesses just for a moment. This is like a really vague idea, but.
Okay.
And it's a major focus of our collaborative communities.
Yes,
plan.
it is.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
So the idea would be that the recovery center. Okay, so the program is operating in Otsego County at our other center. And the way it works is if someone's working with a peer, they can be the go-between to employment. We have formal contracts with organizations in Otsego County that basically say that we'll vet the person and get them through the process. And if there's an issue while they're employed, we can help mediate that or remediate that. So this is like the general concept. And we have in Delaware County, we have a couple of informal connections already, which is really great in the community. Something we're looking to formalize, but obviously we need some support in developing that, and it would be great if we could expand it to different areas other than what's outside.
And that's phase 4 of our
Aha!
banging our head against the wall on how to get it up and running and going.
Jonathan.
Yeah, and we might be able to be useful here. We have our advocacy group started the Mountaintop Recovery Friendly Workplace Initiative. We've already.
Whoa, what?
Yeah. I got paperwork. I got paperwork. So we spoke to Wyndham Mountain. We spoke to a number of local businesses. We are also getting funding. Here's how we can be helpful with from Maureen Bodwin, who is working at the Columbia Green Community College, and she's with getting funding, federal funding for workforce placement, particularly for people in the dealing with issues of opioid and addiction issues. We've placed 2 people in college, $6,000 a piece already. We placed 1 person in recovery at Young's Nursery with another $6,000 grant, which is kind of a matching grant. So this thing is up and running. What we're looking for.
Yes, what are you looking for?
What we're looking for are more people.
More businesses?
No, I think we'll find up in that neighborhood. We'll find the businesses. What we're looking for, more people in recovery.
Yeah. Amazing.
So this is something we can work coordinate. Just one last thing. The issue is for those of us in Mountaintop, which is resort oriented, the issue is full-time work. So these grants are for people that are working full-time. And by the way, they come with a peer counselor aspect to that. So the employers get an employee that is also in recovery with peer counseling support. It's a really cool program.
This is what we talked about at the meeting.
That's awesome.
They're doing it. We can just. We just do what we do best. We'll do it together.
And Mary's, Mary's doing it in Delhi. Yeah.
On an informal basis,
Well,
my
we
wife and
have-
I have been doing this for quite some time. So, and we tell people we're probably a better human resource better than any person who's going to have their 45 minutes interview. We've seen these people in their recovery for years. And so we try to connect, and we do connect people informally. But
So this would be great. So I'll hand this out, and we are looking. We can find the businesses.
Yeah,
everybody wants. We're looking for the people.
Okay, you are on. We're doing a recovery-friendly communities committee together. So I'm now putting you in that bucket. We're gonna augment your grant. You're gonna help us.
You're volunteering.
I'm not telling you.
Sign
You're
up.
volunteering. But the thing about it is, it's not. It's just a way to organize
No,
our
I'm
efforts.
thrilled.
Yeah, volunteer. It's volunteer.
We're
Yes.
just looking for ways to.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, and I hope that you please get David and Kaylee's information before you leave.
The superintendent of our jail is actually looking to bring in some trade people to start training prior to release, and get them into a trade field, and obviously being full-time employment, that's the goal.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's a how do you start and how do you get going?
Unions.
And to that end also, you know, we've been working as far as bringing people in to train them as recovery coaches, because as of January 20th, by OASIS regulations, everyone, you know, every rehab in New York State is required to hire, depending on the size, recovery coaches. So there's and we've got 16 people that we just graduated, and there's, you know, there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, some of them have already been placed at, you know, step one in different agencies.
So some of you folks might not know, but adults can enroll in BOCES, VOTEC programs, so it's something just to know about.
All right, I've just written all you down. We're going to talk about this in another form, but this is awesome. Medication-assisted treatment. I'm going to be really quick because a lot of our key players aren't in the room right now. But the goal for this is to get some kind of medication-assisted treatment with a counseling component available locally. By local, I mean the rural area of the Catskills, okay? So Margaretville Hospital and Westchester are a huge bureaucracy. They're difficult to navigate, but there are key players at every rung of the ladder. Sorry, guys.
Say the least.
But at every rung of the ladder who are super interested in this. There's very few people who are like, no, I hate this, or at least they haven't told me yet. So there's the will, and I have to figure out how to connect the dots to which particular way we're going to deliver this.
Julia, I was just speaking with the doctor just a minute ago, because one of the things that I advocated for when I was working with the governor's office was to utilize telemedicine.
Yes.
And now it's starting.
Which doctor?
I forgot your name again. Kurt. I was talking with Kurt, and Kurt just told me that Cigna just signed on just a couple months ago, so it's starting to open up. There was discussion about the viability of billing for that.
Yes.
And then, of course, Kurt said, yes, that it does divorce you from the human component to a certain extent. So you'd have to have the same thing that we have in our schools here, is we have a mental health telemed grant where there is human contact, but so you could have a peer counselor or a certified drug and alcohol counselor with the patient signing in to a certified doctor like Kurt that could prescribe.
We appreciate your call. One of our friendly representatives will return to your call in just a moment.
Right, our telemed systems are that well defined to do that. I mean, they do a lot of neat stuff with the devices that we have here at the hospital, and then Margaretville and Westchester have provided. But the issue for me is, like I said, with reality, thinking that you're going to get more Kurtz up here may not be a reality, but bridging that gap electronically could be really helpful.
I'm not even going to, because we're going to run out of time, I want anyone who's interested in talking more about MAT and getting here to raise their hand.
Yeah, I'd be involved.
Okay, so we've got Kaylee, we've got Kurt, we've got David, we've got Amy, and we've got Tom. All right, I will bring you into this. Are you interested from the jail perspective?
I am. That's not my expertise.
It's not
I'm
you.
not a jail guy, but
Jerome called it yesterday from Worcester County.
Okay. I would love to be part of the conversation. Just so I will say that there's rumblings and rumors that the ACLU is filing lawsuits against various counties to put in place an MAT program in the jail.
Yeah, I heard
that. We're not getting sued in Ulster County yet, but
MAT, medication assisted. Craig is on our committee. He's but he's not in this room right now. So we're actually, if anyone's interested in talking to doing law enforcement stuff, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay, sorry, raise your hands one more time. Who was interested in MAT? I got it. Okay, great.
Julia, I will say you're going to have to include Cindy Haney because you can't do any of those services without her.
Cindy's on both.
So you can have all kinds of ideas, but until she signs off.
Oh, totally. Okay. We're going to talk about transportation real quick. Public transportation is a huge problem. You've heard a bunch of people mention it. We are working on a whole satellite Delaware County, and it's Delaware County specific, but that doesn't mean we won't work with other counties. Delaware County public transportation. We have a campaign. We have 3 arms. There's a lobbying arm politically that is lobbying every single county supervisor in Delaware County, one-on-one conversations. The guy who runs Mountainside with me, we're talking to people one-on-one. We're also having a grassroots component. There's a Facebook group that's sort of fomenting, and we're also have the wellness committee that is doing data and outreach about why it's important to have public transportation. 2, we're rewriting the county's transportation plan. I'm probably going to tap into the Collaborative Communities grant to rewrite that with Vincent. Right. Because the county can't get any DOT money for public transit until they have a new plan. They're behind on their plan by about 10 years.
But the plan from 10 years ago going forward, you actually have to go to New York Next at the Office of the Agent. They should have the entire report.
I've got it.
Oh, I already gave it.
I have it. Oh, yeah.
It didn't impress any of our
Yeah.
supervisors, and
Yes.
it won't again. And
Right.
it will stop at the cost of buses and insurance.
Yep. But it won't. It is not impossible. On Monday, we had a meeting of all the key stakeholders in Delaware County about transportation. I know you've seen it before. It's not an easy ask. But we have everybody. We have OFA, we have the ARC, we have Delaware Opportunities at the table running pilot programs on their own that we're going to open the flood.
Work around the county.
No, they haven't done them yet. They're going to. So that's the third plan, is to create a pilot program or a couple and show that they're working, that they're not going to cost the county any money, that if the county takes responsibility for them, DOT money will appear, and then it will be something that can be adopted. But just one more thing, public transportation does not mean a bus route. It can be a bus route, but it is not at all the only thing. Any sort of transportation, like an ARC bus that is already on a fixed route and carries people 2 days a week along that route, no matter who you are, that's one of our potential goals. ARC is totally interested in doing that. OFA buses, same thing, opening them up. They are technically open right now, but they're not. So these are very modest goals.
The Health Alliance in South Central, and they started their
Get There New York.
Get There New York. And also a really important model for something like a rural county.
You got it.
Because of all the ways we can get somebody from point A to point B and back home again.
Bill Wagner is running this with me. He's amazing. Everyone should know, and then we'll stop. Get There New York has a transit router on its website where anyone can plug in a destination and find a way to get there, often for free. So this is something you should just all know. So if you have somebody who needs to get from Shandaken to Delhi, you can plug that in. Callie probably knows about this already. Tom, you wanted to say something?
Well, I'm just saying that if you ever feel like you want to leave the supervisor level,
yes,
get their blessing before you go further.
Oh, I know.
You don't want to go and call Jim Seward or anyone else without their knowledge. I've seen that happen before.
You're welcome.
So if you run into roadblocks and you need statewide advocacy,
yes,
just make them aware.
You're right. The key is the county level. So what I need from you all is next time you're talking to anybody with county power, just mention the fact that you are hearing that public transportation is something that everybody really, really needs. It's really important. And it isn't impossible in Delaware County. Delaware County is one of only 2 counties in the state without any kind of public transit system. There are big, rural, poor counties that have it. Those are the talking points I need to be in every supervisor's ear so that a majority of them will hear it from everywhere. They won't be so knee-jerk, and they will be more open to the plan that we will present to them in a year. That's my game plan. If anyone's interested in working with me more on this, raise your hand. It's fine if you're not. I have tons of people. It's all good. Okay. All right, moving on.
Thanks.
And thank you. Law enforcement assisted diversion. Chad, what you just said about it not super working in Woodstock really is useful for me. We're talking with, obviously, the cops in Ulster County, but we also, Craig Dumont, the local sheriff, is on this coalition, but he has trouble coming to meetings like this. So we're going to him on either the 12th or the 14th or 15th as sort of a preliminary, let's talk about how we can work with you when bail reform hits. That's the real change that's coming. Do you want to just explain what's going to happen when bail reform happens?
January 1st, it really comes down to bail reform. There's certain crimes that can no longer be incarcerated. So in our jail, for instance, our population on Monday was about 200. As of January 1st, 50 of those inmates will be inmates that want to be out
on bail.
So obviously there's some concerns, which we spoke about. So at least, and I'll just use this as an example. A family member would come to us and say, I don't know what to do anymore. My son or daughter needs desperate help. What are we going to do? They are not interested in getting help. So eventually they screw up, we get them, and we could place a moderate amount of bail on them. So they're in a safe place and they start detox. And sometimes that was that drive for them. That is totally we can't do that. And this is kind of like an extreme example. So you can have a kilo of cocaine and we arrest you and we literally have to give you a parents to the door now and see you. So where do you think that person's going? So although whatever your political side is on bail reform, yes, it was some needed. I think this was an extreme, and it's only gonna everyone in this room, it's gonna tax our resources.
Yes, I am viewing it as an opportunity because I think it's going to be a moment where everybody in these systems is going to be more willing to collaborate than they normally are. So my question to you is anyone interested in talking about this with the sheriff in sort of open-ended, how can we help you kind of way? We got Mary, we got Arnie, we got Kate.
Can I, we're talking about law enforcement, what about the lawyers and the TAs and the public offense? What do you call it?
Public defenders.
So,
Public defenders.
Public defenders,
John.
all who may or may not be on board with.
You're right. We would love, this committee would be making relationships with the new public defender's office in Delaware County, working with the cops in Ulster who are really approaching this from a kind of different perspective.
But just so you know, just like the Perry program, it's somebody walking in off the street into the station or calling us and saying, hey, we need help. And then we direct them and give them help. And the thing that we found was Woodstock, good for them that they wanted to do this program. We didn't have the buy-in at the time from the community. And two, our concern was somebody walks in, they're looking for help, they're obviously in crisis, we're handing them off to a volunteer angel, they were called, and then at the time, you know, most of the navigating Medicare and Medicaid and getting them in the system in New York State was absolutely ridiculous. So 90% of the time they were going out of state. So then it was getting them a plane ticket. So it just, and the thing that I would recommend is you have one particular point person that's going to run the program.
We already kind of have two of them. We're looking into that. I don't want to bog down with this right now because there's so much, but yes,
that was our failure in the system.
Yeah, we're going to be talking.
Julie, we need to remember to include the state troopers because in our area here, most of the police activity are the troopers.
You got it, Amy Smith, Steve. And I don't have a good contact at the troopers yet.
I do, Mike Paoli.
I do. Okay, so you guys both.
Mike's on leave.
Boom.
Who's covering for Mike?
So,
I would like out.
Because you are going to be you are going to have to buy in the state police. The state police is a tough sell.
But they also
and we are very fortunate in Ulster County. Where,
they are a tough sell.
The last couple superintendents of the state police have come from Ulster County, come from Kingston. So we have a great relationship with them.
Sweet.
And they are on our computer system, and we work very well together.
Oh,
I don't think you guys have that here.
I would say to you, and believe me, I know a lot of the troopers, great folks, but they're a large bureaucracy. Two, they're very transient.
And the other thing is they're very transient. So
You're
I can tell you right now, we have
placed
20 new
Margaretville.
troopers in the between Kingston, Catskill, and Ellenville, and 6 months from now they'll be gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we need to include them because, like, if we're establishing recovery services or recovery helping options in this area.
You need buy-in from like your captain.
Yeah. Right. We need people that are here at the barracks to say, listen, okay, here's, you know, you're being provided a ticket for a drug, you know, here's some resources that you know you may find helpful. Because now most of the drug and alcohol things, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, are not going to make it to the jail.
Yep. Or to the court. Initially.
Right.
They're not going to even be arraigned, right?
Right. Okay, so I have a lot of ideas about this, and we're going to talk more about it because also Scott Burrows, who was on the call earlier, who is still there, is sort of a key component of this. So this is going to be a small group that I'm going to loop everyone into raise their hands. All right, education. I'm going to gloss over this super quick because this is a nascent committee. We're mostly trying to engage the schools. I haven't even looped you into it yet, Tom.
Well, I'm looping out pretty soon, you know that.
Well, and so I hope that you can connect us with someone in Roxbury.
I retired December 20th.
Congratulations.
But you're gonna volunteer, right?
I'll help. I'll keep
Voluntold, right?
We're
trying to help you.
I'm actually
I'm not
just gonna
going in there,
ask,
Chad. You know that.
who is interested in working on youth engagement? 'Cause this one's amorphous. So we've got Drew, we've got Becky.
I think Mary's not here, but I think Mary would.
Mary, absolutely. Well, Mary already teaches programs in our school.
Yeah,
Very similar. Very similar to
I just gave Mary money yesterday.
Is there any school
Robbie.
resource
You
officers?
gave
or
her
school
money.
safety officers?
See, I don't know.
Council has one.
But
I think.
because we have 5, we have 2 in the Rondout district, 1 in Ontario, and 1 in Boise.
The only full-time SRO in Delaware County is in Sydney.
There we go. Thank you for knowing this.
That's the
Great
only one.
resource. Great resource.
Okay, SROs.
Our
Mary,
schools
you
are
can
too small.
I can hear my name in the bathroom.
Yes,
We volunteer.
You're gonna be involved with youth outreach, Mary.
Oh,
Julia, I
I would
think
think
who
that-
I
Robbie
think I
works
can do that.
And Robbie,
think
of
so,
course.
You know anything about
on those conversations.
Okay. Prevention.
Well, before you
Mary.
run, just so you know,
Give me.
Joe DeMo is going in. We are funding a project for
Yes.
engaging youth in designing posters around prevention, treatment,
Right.
and recovery.
Good stuff.
And he's going into, where's it going? Oh,
Delaware Academy.
Delaware
Delaware
Academy
Academy.
and
Wow.
BOCES.
And BOCES.
But
Which
this
BOCES?
Yeah.
would be
Oh,
Maybe
right
the
here,
board.
Bush.
Okay.
So
Oh,
there's
wait.
two,
There's
our
two
county is cut in half. There's
Yep.
2 BOCES in Delaware
Yep.
County.
This is the
Yeah.
Grand Gorge.
Okay.
Okay.
And so if there's any youth who would like to participate in that, we will let Joe know.
And we can, does anyone have a connection to the other BOCES? Should we put them in more places?
Where is the other BOCES?
We have
Masonville.
Delaware
Masonville.
Academy.
Masonville.
I think we should
Between
include
Walton
the
and
other
Bainbridge.
BOCES.
Oh,
It's
All right.
not hard to do.
No.
Okay.
So the state police have a community outreach super assigned.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have lots of talking to do about this.
They, Esther Suarez was ours, and unfortunately we just lost her because she got promoted. She was in a different school every day, and she was doing training presentations to the kids.
Great.
Just that. I mean, she was above and beyond and amazing, and good for her. She got promoted, but they do have a community outreach person.
Yeah, we do.
It's Shannon.
State police, do you know who it is?
Shannon.
I'm trying to remember his name. He's got red hair. He's trying to remember his name.
Here, we'll talk more. This is
Shannon is the
Shannon's the
school
school-
outreach for state.
You just call, if you call it Sydney Barracks, they'll be able to tell you who it is. He'll be mad at me that I forgot his
I
name.
know.
We won't tell him.
And for the Delaware County people, that person's a great resource for you.
Awesome. Great.
They have statewide access to a lot of programs.
Okay. That's someone we need to look at.
That is one value of SP.
Yeah.
Is SP does have a lot of resources in relation coming to them for that sort of.
That's
community
great.
outreach.
We actually went to Esther for a lot of her
100% right.
props and, education material. when we started working.
Okay. That's really helpful.
We have more money.
Yeah. Rena, can you talk for just a minute about prevention and some of the collaboration you've been doing? Just tell me about, like, you've been talking with mental health stuff also, just about like what's going on in what meetings you're going to. I'm gonna have you keep it real short.
Okay, well, a couple of us from the NAMI are, as I said, are on the Community Service Board, Mental Health Subcommittee, Suicide Prevention Network that Mary chairs, Stratton. One of the things that I sent out, I think I sent to the steering committee and to Mary, there's a program called Care Path. It's a new program of Mental Health Association. And it's, I don't know if it's necessarily prevention, and it can be used for in a situation where there's a discharge planning from hospital, jail, rehab, we have just had a speaker on that at the NAMI conference. I'd like to see if we can bring her in for the summit. Her name is Deb Faust. She developed it, and it's working with the person who is in the process of recovery and with their significant other's family, the support system. It's a whole wellness approach, and the test project was at Orban's Hospital, and after doing it, it reduced the number of repeat admissions by a very large percentage, like 60%. And the test project was done with people who had 3 or 4 admissions in the past year. So it's very user-friendly, it's very positive.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out if we should, how we can get that information to sort of the assorted folks the most easily. I mean, you suggested that she do a presentation. I don't know if it makes more sense for us to like send her directly to people who might use her, like Oracle or something.
She's happy to travel around to do it. But I just thought for people to see what this program is like and how can it be used in different settings.
It's kind of, as I said, it's not necessarily an initial prevention, but it's a prevention against relapse and
What's that
and
support?
very
Right? It's the
important.
follow-up. You were
It's
talking
also
about.
Medicaid billable. That was the big thing.
Yeah, I mean that could be maybe working in conjunction with recovery coaches and that kind of thing. If either Callie or Mary could just talk a tiny bit about the prevention subcommittee of the drug use task
I'll
force.
let Callie, since she's the chairperson.
Because we're just,
You could jump in.
I'm kind of just going to make this prevention piece that and try to support the work you're doing.
Okay, so some of the work we meet monthly or bi-monthly, depending on the projects that we've kind of been discussing, and just kind of establish a couple of projects that we want. That was our main buy-in to get people to attend. Was to create projects that were tangible. Our biggest success to date, we actually held a prevention conference. It was a day-long thing. We did it. I think we planned it in a month and a half.
A month and a half.
And we had 75 people, 75 Delaware County professionals register. I think 65 attended, which was pretty good, considering that there was another ACEs thing the same week.
You should say what ACEs is.
Adverse childhood experiences. So we kind of correlated it to substance use and mental health, and how when you're approaching these people as a professional, you're taking into account that they have a past experience that may make them difficult or have trouble. You don't handle that situation the same way you would with everybody else. It's different for every person. So we had a day-long thing, kind of just focusing on that, pointing things out, drawing attention to how your care plan changes per patient or client. One other thing that we've started talking about is doing a community calendar, because it's been explained to us that it's very difficult to locate Delaware County resources in the whole of Delaware County. So whether you're somebody who's interested in attending an AA meeting or something, where are those held? When are they held? Where do I go? How do I do it? So to do it in a one-stop shop, you go to one website, you click it, it's web-based, and it would be kind of, we thought, color-coded based on the type of event, if it was an education event, if it was a meeting, if it was we want to do an app, so we kind of partnered with SUNY Delhi to do it. And I've got a professor that has a student that wants to do the project as like a independent study. So it's getting off the ground, it's just delivering it. And I think when the semesters changed, that kind of, we had reached out right before the semester started. So I think it might take off for the spring semester, not the fall, because the fall's already, going. So kids are planning their schedules now. So to get credit, they want to do it next.
Okay.
So that's something that we're working on. We also did a resource guide, which kind of was a project with a couple of our subcommittees. But it's for first responders that when they, come in contact with somebody that has a substance use issue, that they have a way to refer them. So Keely and Mary were instrumental in planning this, because we'd seen other resource guides that were overflowing. Sorry to take so much time, but
no, it's okay.
They were overflowing with information and materials, and you would read it and not know. I work in this, and I worked in it for how long, and I would read this and still not know where to go. So I have it's a draft. It's not finished at all, but it's been submitted to the state for approval. It was with our funding. We had to put our funding blurb on it, whatever. So it's coming back soon. Expecting it. Should be handed out here shortly.
So that's something we carry in our ambulance?
It would be ambulance, it would be police, it would be everything.
Oh,
And
cool.
what it says is, we have FORDU as our peer specialist hub. We have ADAC, which is an education for family members that are
George
interested.
Lopez to radiology, please.
The hospitals are listed.
To radiology.
Just kind of accidentally leave it laying on the living room table.
Exactly. Just get it out.
Put it in my jump kit, right?
Yeah, we talked about doing actual kits with tissues and things that you would need on something that's a difficult response. But things expire, so cops were kind of not really into that, because if it was granola bar or something, or chapstick, it would melt in their car, that kind of thing. So we've been kind of playing with some ideas for our next idea. But
who would be interested in working on this type of work?
Our next meeting.
I already am.
And it's okay. Okay, we've got Jonathan.
So they're available via Zoom too. So if you don't want to make the trip, no problem. A lot of people jump on Zoom. Our next meeting, which was, I have not sent out the meeting invites, which is perfect because I can send it out today and have Julia pass it on, but it is November 18th, 10 a.m.
Great. All right, I'm sorry. I know a bunch of people had to leave at noon.
I'm sorry.
No, you're great, including Kaylee. So I'm going to start with you as you're leaving. As we close, are there any things that need to be like aired or addressed that we've talked about today that you like that Ford needs us to understand, or how, like, as we check out as we're leaving, is there anything you need from us?
I would just love people to reach out if they want to learn more about what we do. It's very hard to explain in like a 2-minute little blurb, and if you don't know what recovery coaching is, we're a resource. We can explain it to you, give you some ideas. There's a lot of confusion even just in New York about what a recovery coach is. You know, we're not counselors, we're not sponsors. We have our own lane. So if you'd like to chat with me, all of our information is online. And
Delaware County Turning Point, right? Is that what you Googled? Delaware County Friends of Recovery, Delaware.
Friends of Recovery. Yeah, Friends of Recovery is our website. So it's friendsofrecoverydo.org. And then you can get to everything else from there.
And I will connect you also if you're like, oh, who was that? I will connect you to talk directly with Kaylee, but we're going to be working with them in a lot of different capacities.
We'd be lost without Kaylee.
Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much for what you did.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I'm having a problem with the separation between education and prevention.
There might not be a separation.
I think it doesn't work. I mean, education doesn't really affect behavior. I hate to say it, sorry. Apologies to anyone who's a teacher. But it seems it's really prevention that we're talking about. And
I'll make it one thing. As we get down this list, it gets a little more. All right, guys.
I know.
One thing before we go. How do you like to communicate? Raise your hand if you prefer email. Okay, well, we'll just go down. Okay. Who likes Slack or other instant messaging stuff? Yeah, I didn't think so. Project management CRM. You probably don't even know what it is. Got it. Don't worry about it. If you don't know, you don't know. It's fine. Okay. Snail mail. Who likes snail mail? Yeah. Who likes meeting in small groups again? I do. Okay, that's great. Okay, that's what I've been hearing already. Emails, small groups, and we will facilitate this committee work that I'm talking about. Are there any other ways of communicating and holding us accountable that you would recommend?
Well, if you meet in small groups, if we could take just minutes, notes, it doesn't have to be formal, and then send it out to everyone.
Send it for small groups and send it out.
Okay. Because so many things cross each other. Right?
Share with larger groups. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to, and it's going to take me a little bit, send everybody the minutes of this meeting, tell you what things you kind of said you were interested in working on, and then tell you what I think the next steps were for those smaller groups. And I need you to tell me what you want to do once you get that kind of communication from me. I'm at your service, so is Kim. We're here to help, and we're so grateful that you came.
And I just want to I told Julie this, Ken has already been back, Rob Ken's already been back to us.
So we have an Oasis champion now.
Oh, really? He's the
You
chief
already
general.
emailed them?
Yeah, she's the general counsel of Oasis.
Say it.
He'll be with us.
He is.
Okay, you can.
Rob?
Please, we're trying to get at least 200 people to come to this kind of coming out party for us. This is just June, so I will make a list. I'll send an email to this attachment. So if you want to, yeah, please pass them around. Stick them in.
I've got all.
And Julia,
Yes.
we have one more thing. WIOX is probably one of the only radio stations, nonprofit around, that could be helpful. I'm not the only one who does a talk show on WIOX, so.
Arnie's great to visit.
Is that,
You know what,
thank you.
I should have said, is anyone interested in working on the communication plan that we're doing?
I have a contact that might be really helpful with that.
Yes,
It's just Sullivan County has a huge media program going on for opioids and substance use, and they reached out to us. They want to do something very similar in Delaware County. So
would you please connect that person?
Sullivan County is a media.
And I'm going to just say you are interested too, because we need you
Yeah,
promoting your stuff.
our message is that we're Greene County, we're North Greene County, but what you're doing here, you want to do that, try to replicate it. We're already off and running, so please.
Yeah, we should share information and promote the same stuff.
Contact that works. She's like dual Green and Columbia. She works for both.
Okay.
But you should know her name.
Any other pressing needs? Anybody feel like something was missed? People didn't say stuff? Go ahead.
30 seconds. Congressman Delgado reached out to us and because we have a pilot program which is really interesting. He asked us to reach out and write a funding proposal. I haven't done that, but I did write an outline of what we're doing, and it is this. We have a pharmacist in Tannersville who is a wellness pharmacist. He marries Eastern and Western modalities, and it's astonishing. We think it's actually an incredibly innovative process, and so did Delgado. I can pass this around.
Absolutely.
So he teaches at a pharmacy school. You come in and you're bipolar. He'll help to treat that. Call your doctor, and then from that point on, Ed Ullman is his name. Will take you as far as you need to go. What we're trying to do up there is to use our group to enhance his model, and it's crazy. And the second tier of that is once you're finished, once you've been treated, once maybe you're in recovery, then, as everybody said tonight, then what? And with Ed, what the then not for us in the mountaintop is, we have Reiki specialists, I have friends in Outward Bound, we have a wilderness program, we have therapeutic chiropractic, and on and on and on. So we're trying to create a menu of what's next, and that's the wholeness wellness model. Treatment of the individual, treating them with respect, taking them in. We got an intern. We found an intern for Mountaintop Advocacy Coalition, and we have linked her to Ed. So she is the care coordinator.
Oh my God!
The care coordinator then takes what Ed is doing and begins to branch it out. So my last thought is we're thinking of becoming a 501c3 because we don't know how else to staff up. And we have all of these ideas, but we're really nascent as it were. So this describes what Ed is doing. This is what we put a lot of weight behind. If you're interested.
Yes.
Cool, right?
You have a website?
I can email this to
When
everyone.
you send the minutes out, why don't you send that out with the group minutes?
Yeah. So this is the recovery friendly initiative which we've started, which I can email out.
You have a website or something?
We just started a website, and we have a Facebook page, which so we've been in operation for about a year and a half. We're just so I'll send this out to everybody.
Yes.
And I'll send out the aspects of which I think we described.
His email says he'd love that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Okay, folks.
We're looking for funding.
I should have asked. Is anyone on the call? I haven't asked you for a while. Feeling the need to say anything as we close? Anything we missed? Anything you need?
The only thing, Julia, and maybe this is for us to talk about on the side, but I'm just wondering about the deadline, what we're doing with the new piece, if that is going to be included in the...
What we're doing with the what piece?
My new piece that I'm working on. We discussed whether or not it would be shown for the first time at... Yeah, I don't know if we should talk about that later.
Let's talk about that later. I mean, the short answer, yes, and let's talk about it.
Okay.
Sorry we're going over and I don't want to do too much more. I should have had you talk about that sooner.
Yep.
But I can
No
send out an
problem.
email about that if you would send me something.
Yeah, let me know, because that affects my deadline, requirements.
Okay. Anyone else on the call before we disperse? Anything you need, anything we missed, anything you want me to send out as follow-up?
Just keep me posted.
Susie, yes. One more thing. Who's interested in working on housing? Mary and Kaylee. Okay. This is a new thing that we just thought of that I think we should look into. Okay. Mary wrote something on.
For everybody.
We sure have.
And Scott, probably. Okay.
Julia?
Yes.
Julia?
Uh-huh.
Regards to housing, you may want to talk to Kevin O'Connor from RUPCO.
Oh, okay. I can do that.
Okay, they don't have any housing in Delaware County right now, but they do have some in Greene and a lot in Ulster and I believe Orange County now as well. So they are definitely branching out. So and he has a lot of good information.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much. All right, folks, we're going to end. Thank you so much for your attention. I will send out a link to this video and a bunch of follow-up, hopefully by the end of the week, okay? Thank you.